The time had come. The goddess Athena, with her blazing eyes, inspired Penelope, wary, poised, to set the bow and gleaming iron axes out before her suitors waiting in Odysseus' hall, to test their skill and draw them to their slaughter. Up the steep stairs to her room she climbed and grasped in a steady hand the curved key, fine bronze, with ivory haft attached. And then with her chamberwoman made her way to a hidden storeroom far in the palace's depths. And there they lie, the royal master's treasure, bronze, gold, and a wealth of hard-wrought iron. And there it lay as well, his back-sprung bow with its quiver, bristling arrows, shafts of pain. So as the key went home, those handsome double doors rang out now and sprang wide before her. She stepped onto a plank where chests stood tall, brimming with clothing scented sweet with cedar, reaching tiptoe, lifting the bow down off its peg, still secure in the burnished case it came in. Down she sank, laying the case across her knees, and dissolved in tears with a high, thin wail as she drew her husband's weapon from its sheath. Then, having wept and sobbed till her heart's content, off she went to the hall to meet her proud admirers, cradling her husband's back-sprung bow in her arms, its quiver, bristling arrows, shafts of pain. Her women followed, bringing a chest that held the bronze and the iron axes, trophies won by the master. That radiant woman, once she reached her suitors, drawing her glistening veil across her cheeks, paused now where a column propped the sturdy roof, with one of her loyal handmaids stationed either side, and delivered an ultimatum to her suitors. Listen to me, my overbearing friends, you who plague this palace day and night, drinking, eating us out of house and home, with the Lord and Master absent, gone so long, but the only excuse you can offer is your zest to win me as your bride. So to arms, my gallants. Here is the prize at issue, right before you. Look, I set before you King Odysseus' great bow. The hand that can string this bow with greatest ease, that shoots an arrow clean through all 12 axes. He is the man I follow, yes, forsaking this house, where I was once a bride, this gracious house, so filled with the best that life can offer. I shall always remember it, that I know, even in my dreams. She turned to Eumaeus, ordered the good swineherd now to set the bow and the gleaming iron axes out before the suitors. He broke into tears as he received them. Then he laid them down. The cowherd, he wept too, when he saw his master's bow. But Antinous wheeled on them both and let them have it. Oh, yokels, fools, you can't tell night from day. You mawkish idiots, why are you sniveling here? You're stirring up your mistress. Isn't she drowned in grief already? She's lost her darling husband. And sit down, eat in peace, or take your snuffling out of doors, but leave the arrow where it is, the bow right there. Our crucial test that makes or breaks us all. No easy game, I wager, to string his polished bow. Oh, not a soul in this crowd can match Odysseus. Ah, what a man he was. I saw him once, yeah, I can remember it to this day. I was young and foolish then. Smooth talk. But deep in that suitor's heart, his hopes were bent on stringing that bow and shooting through those axes. Antinous, fated to be the first man to taste an arrow whipped from great Odysseus' hands. The king he mocked, so at ease in his house, egging comrades on to do the same. Amazing, Prince Telemachus weighted him with a laugh. Amazing. Zeus up there robbed me of my wits. My own dear mother, sensible as she is, says she'll marry again, forsake our house, and Look at me. I'm laughing for all I'm worth, giggling like a fool. Oh, step up, friends. Step up. Here is the prize at issue right before you. Look, a woman who has no equal now in all Archaean country. You know it well. Why sing my mother's praises? Come, let the games begin. No dodges, no delays. No turning backs from stringing that bow. We'll see who wins. We will. I'd even take a crack at the bow myself. Man enough at last to win my father's splendid prizes. With that, he leapt to his feet and dropped his bright red cloak, slipping the sword and sword belt off his shoulders. First, he planted the axes, digging a long trench, one for all, and threw them all to a line, then tamped the earth to bed them. Wonder took the revelers looking on. His work was so firm, precise. Though we'd never seen axes ranged before, he stood at the threshold, poised to try the bow. 3 times he made it shudder. Straining to bend it, 3 times his powers flagged. But his hopes ran high. He'd string his father's bow and shoot through every iron. And now, struggling with all his might for the 4th time, he would have strung the bow. But Odysseus shook his head and stopped him, despite his tensing zeal. Ah! Oh, God help me! The inspired prince cried out, "Oh, must I be a weakling all my life? A failure? Unless I'm just too young to trust my hands to fight off any man who rises up against me. Come, my better is so much stronger than I am. Try the bow and finish off this contest." He propped his father's weapon on the ground, tilting it up against the polished, well-hung doors, and resting a shaft aslant to the bow's fine horn. Then back he went to the seat he left. "Up, friends!" Antinous said, taking over. One man after the other, from the left to the right, starting from where the steward pours the wine. So Antinous urged, and all agreed. The first man up was Leodes, Enop's son. Picking up the weapon now, and the swift arrow, he stood at the threshold, poised to try the bow, but failed to bend it. As soon as he tugged the string, his hands went slack, his soft, uncalloused hands, and he called back to the suitors, "Friends, I can't. I can't bend it. Someone take it, please. Here is a bow to rob us of the best of us of life and breath, all our best contenders. Still, better be dead than live on here, never winning the prize that tempts us all, forever in pursuit, burning with expectation every day. If there's still a suitor here who hopes, who aches to marry Penelope, Odysseus his wife, just let him try the bow. He'll see the truth." With those words, he thrust the bow aside, tilting it up against the polished, well-hung doors, and resting the shaft aslant the bow's fine horn. Then back he went to the seat that he had left. But Antinous turned on the seer, abuses flying. "Ah, Leodes, what are you saying? What's got past your lips? What awful, grisly nonsense. It shocks me to hear it. Here is a bow to rob us of our life and breath. Well, just because you can't string it, because you're so weak, clearly your genteel mother never bred her boy for the work of bending bows and shooting arrows. We have champions in our ranks to string it quickly. Hop to it, Melanthius," he barked at the goat herd. But now, the king's 2 men, the cowherd and the swineherd, had slipped out of the palace side by side, and great Odysseus left the house to join them. Once they were out past the courtyard and the gates, he probed them, deftly, surely. "Cowherd, swineherd." "What? Shall I blurt this out or keep it to myself?" No, speak out. My heart says so. How far would you go to fight beside Odysseus? Say he dropped like that from a clear blue sky. Say the gods brought him back. Would you fight for the suitors or the king? Tell me how you feel inside your hearts. "Father Zeus," the trusty cowherd shouted, "bring my prayer to pass. Let the master come. Some god guide him now. You'd see my power, my fighting arms in action. Eumaeus echoed his prayer to all the gods, that their wise king would soon come home again. Now certain that these two were loyal to the death, Odysseus reassured them quickly. I'm right here, here in the flesh, myself, home at last, after bearing 20 years of brutal hardship. Now I know that of all my men, you two alone long for my return. From the rest I've heard not one real prayer that I come back again. So now, I'll tell you what's in store for you. If a god beats down the lofty suitors at my hands, I'll find you wives, both of you, and grant you property, sturdy houses beside mine own. And in mine eyes, you'll be comrades to Prince Telemachus, brothers from then on. Come, I'll show you something, living proof. Know me for certain, put your minds at rest. This scar, look, where a boar's white tusk gored me years ago, hunting on Parnassus, Autolycus' son and I. With that, pushing back his rags, he revealed his great scar, and the men gazed at it, scanned it, knew it well. They broke into tears, and they threw their arms around their master, lost in affection, kissing his head and his shoulders, and so Odysseus kissed their heads and kissed their hands. And now the sun would have set upon their tears, had Odysseus not called a halt to it himself. No more weeping. Men coming out of the house might see us and tell the men inside, let's slip back in, singly, not in a pack. I'll go first, you next. Here's the signal. When all the rest are in there, all the rest in there are lordly friends, are dead against my having the bow and quiver. Good Eumaeus, you carry the bow and quiver down the hall to me and put it in my hands. Then tell all the serving women to lock the snugly fitted doors to their own rooms. If anyone hears from there the jolting blows and groans of men caught in our huge net, not one of them show her face. Sit tight, keep to her weaving, not a sound. You, my good Philoetus, here are your commands. Shoot the bolt of the courtyard's outer gate, lock it, lash it fast. With that command, the master entered his well-constructed house, and back he went to the stool that he had left. The king's two men, in turn, slipped in as well.